Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bluehost Agency webinar series. We've got a treat for you today. So as everybody gets settled down, I'll give you a few minutes to figure out where the chat room is, say hello. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, just a little bit about today's webinar. If you're a digital agency or if you've worked in the agency space, you know that project-based work is unpredictable. It's feast, it's famine. You've heard people say that, and it really is true. And one of the ways that you can get around that or help supplement that or protect yourself from the risk of that is by implementing some monthly recurring revenue strategies into your business. So that's what we're going to talk about that today. We've got a fantastic guest I'm excited to introduce you to. But first things first, some housekeeping. If you can hear us, then head over to the chat room. Drop in a little hello, tell us who you are and where you're from. We would appreciate that. Excuse me. And then if you have questions throughout the presentation, just go ahead and drop them into that chat window or in the comment section, and we're going to address those at the end of the webinar. And then finally, if you're having any issues, you're not seeing something or hearing something, a lot of times just refreshing the screen or re-entering the webinar should go ahead and fix that up for you. Okay, so without further ado, I want to introduce y'all to my dear friend, Kori Ashton. She is a freelancer. She's been an agency owner. She's a CMO. She's a digital strategist. She's an all-around, pretty much just amazing human. And she's worked with a wide variety of industries for over 25 years, helping them get their stuff together to be more profitable and to be more successful. And she does it in such a kind, approachable, down-to-earth way. I think that you'll find today's webinar super helpful for you. So I won't waste any more time showing my face. I want to show y'all Kori. So Kori, thank you so much for giving us your time and joining us today.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me to the conversation. It's an honor to come and share a little bit of some wisdom that I might have gained over this last 25 years, 26 years of doing digital marketing and specifically being in the lane of WordPress. So yeah, let's talk about some MRR.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I have learned a lot of lessons, and some were the hard way to learn them, meaning a big oh crap moment or I didn't see this coming. And so y'all being proactive right now to come join us in a webinar like this, taking time out of your day to come learn ways that you can improve your cash flow, your freelancing or your agency cash flow structure. So important. And I'm giving you digital high fives for making time to do this for you because your future self is going to thank you. So let's take a look at some of the things I learned. One of the most humbling lessons I learned was don't grow your team until you have to. And this was one of those things that if you're a freelancer, we always tend to have that tug at our heart to want to look bigger than we are because we want those bigger projects and we want to hire maybe our first employee or grow our team. And I'm going to say just slow down for a little bit and realize that pacing yourself is wonderfully healthy. It's perfectly fine to be a solo shop or a duo band. It's totally fine to just have humble beginnings. And so while I enjoyed growing my agency and moving from couch to full crew, I'm very thankful to know that it was kind of paced. And looking back, you can see it that way. But when you're in it, sometimes it builds anxiousness in your heart saying, hey, I want to look bigger. I want to present myself as a team of 22 when really it's just you and ChatGPT. So yeah, let's, grow humbly, right? Have clear goals and help drive decisions. I don't know if there's anybody on this call right now or watching this video later on who's a little bit like me in the sense that I'm a squirrel. I have those squirrel moments of just wanting to jump, throw it up on the wall, see if it sticks, and kind of build the plane as you're flying it. That works in some scenarios. Carrie and I can probably attest to that. Some scenarios, maybe that's the agility you have to have. But a lot of times, I'm going to challenge you to set those goals. Figure out what you're working on this quarter, right? Figure out what you're doing for the year and implement milestones to reach those goals. those types of decisions and milestones are going to help ultimately build your success either as a freelancer or an agency. All right, so with that, you're going to want to always use those contracts. This was another thing I didn't learn early on in my 25 years. I thought a good old handshake, they understand what I'm building for them. They got it. I got it. We're good to go. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. So I'm going to challenge you, and I'm even going to provide you some examples later on in our session today that will hopefully help you get an idea of maybe how you can contractually outline better expectations for both yourself and your team and your client. This was another huge one for me. It's okay to turn down a project. This is probably one of the hardest things because especially if we don't already have that MRR model in place, right? Because you and I are now living project to project, hoping that they pay their deposit, hoping that they pay their final payment. But this can really be something where, man, I've got to make a car payment. I can't turn this project down. But you know in the bottom of your gut that this is not the right project for you. You know the client is one of those, oh man, here they come. And you're just looking at them going, no. You see them call on your phone. No. If that's that kind of moment, I'm going to challenge you to gift yourself the ability of saying, no, thank you. And just walk away and know and trust that that money will come in. But if it's not, then here's the big one. This is the actual tactic, the strategy that completely changed the trajectory of my freelance career into my agency life, into full-blown ability to sell my agency and walk away with revenue, right? Walk away with what I'd hoped to get out of selling my agency. So I'm going to challenge you. This one right here, that's what this topic's about, this entire presentation. I want to show you real steps that you can take to implement an MRR strategy inside of either your freelance or your agency life. Here we go. Y'all ready for it? Let's answer it first. What are we even talking about when we talk about MRR? So unlike one-time payments from project-based work, MRR comes from clients who pay you regularly, typically on a monthly regimen for different services, right? So a definition of MRR is monthly reoccurring revenue that is predictable and consistent income. Woo, we like that. And it's going to generate that for us each and every month for our ongoing services or subscriptions that we provide to our clients. This is the safety net. This is the funnel bringing in that cash flow that's going to provide financial stability, helping you plan those long-term goals for your career path. And it's ultimately going to allow your business to scale. So, and I'll talk to you more about that and how I applied that strategy into my world. But I'm going to first start with a story for a minute because I was at a word camp attending a workshop when this topic was brought up. And the speaker stood on the stage and he's sitting there and it was probably a sea of us. Maybe I would say easily 200 people sitting in this keynote conversation. And he asked us to stand up if our freelance or agency revenue was around, $2,000 a month, and nearly the entire room stood. Keep standing if your revenue is $5,000 a month. A lot of us stayed standing. Keep standing if it's $10,000. Now you started to see a couple of people sit down. Keep standing if it's $25,000. And he kind of incrementally went up and asking us to remain standing at a certain revenue level. And it was very telling that by the time he was done hitting his mark of those of you who are making $100,000 a month, and truly there were two individuals still standing at that point. I was not one of them. He said, though, I'm going to challenge you in stating a simple fact that if you, either as a freelancer or an agency, do not currently have an MRR model in place generating predictable, consistent income for you, you will be out of work or out of business within 3 years. And it floored me. The Texan in me kind of reared up with, no, it won't. No, I won't. I'm stubborn. What? But I sat there humbly and began to listen to him then carry on this 90-minute keynote conversation, telling us how to implement it and why it's so important. And man, I tell you what, I went back from that one workshop and it changed completely the way I sold contracts, the way I sold projects, the way I wrangled cash flow, and the way my agency ultimately grew. All right, if I haven't convinced you yet, we're going to walk through and show you how easy it is and how natural it is truly to implement MRR. So if you're already building out websites or doing some sort of digital service for these individuals, there are very natural things that you can just go ahead and offer. Things like website updates and maintenance. Some of the things that we don't like about WordPress is that anytime you log into the dashboard, there's always an update to be clicked. And sometimes it's the roll of the dice if it's going to implode your website or not, right? So you want to be able to sell these services to your clients, letting them know that you're confident to click that button for them. Another thing that's very natural is every website in the world has to be hosted somewhere. It has to live in a server somewhere. It needs to have security running. And it should have backups running. So these are those technical things that a lot of your clients are intimidated by. They don't want to have to deal with it. They don't even get the idea of what hosting is. They just don't understand it. So thankfully, it's a perfect fit for you as the expert to continue building that trust and that relationship. If you've built their website for them, it's very natural to say, and we'll be putting it on our servers for you so that we're able to secure it every month, provide backups for you every month, and keep it up to date so that it's functioning properly, right? Take some of that language I just used, write it down in your sales pitch, and use that as you're talking to them. Because if not, you're going to end up doing what I did at the start of my career, which was, oh, it's only one-time payment and we're done. Okay, that's great. They just wrote you a check for $5,000 and you built them out a website. But there goes a client who could have stayed with you, paying you $99, $199, or $399 a month in an ongoing MRR model for some of these services that we're talking about. You can provide a retainer agreement. This is more likely one of those relationship builders with somebody who does need consistent changes to their website. And maybe those changes fluctuate. Maybe 1 month they need you to go fix some technical SEO issues that their in-house team stumbled upon, but they don't want to touch their robots.txt file or anything like that. They don't want to jump into Google Search Console. So they need your help this month for that. Maybe next month, they need a new landing page built out because they're running a new ad. Well, you could throw together a little offer of what types of services you could do and maybe tell them up to 10 hours a month, and I'll put you on a $1,000 a month retainer agreement. What? You'll have my urgent inbox email so that you can send me an email. You're top of my list now as a retainer client, and I'm being wonderfully proactive to work with you. That type of agreement not only moves a client to madly respect you because they know you know your stuff, but it also has them wanting to reach out to you every month, wanting to write that check for you every month because they need you to respond to them every month. Maybe you don't want that long dedicated time frame given out to a specific client. So you can just back it up for a minute and offer them something lightweight, like ongoing consulting in an as-needed scenario or automated reporting. One of the easiest things I've ever done is go over to Google Analytics, set up a Google Analytics account for a client, go into the top right-hand corner that shows the share icon, and set up automated reporting. It gets sent to them once a month. You look like you're doing your stuff, and hot dang, you're getting that MRR every month. Now, that's probably not one of those high-ticketed items that you're going to be selling for $2,000 a month. But that could easily be something that you're sending them automatically maybe every week, through Google Analytics. And then you set up a one-time, once-a-month call to review those metrics. Yeah, that could easily be a $200 offer. And now you're getting paid $200 an hour because you're sitting down with them for a 1-hour call every month. And the rest is fully automated. Do you see how simple this can be for us? We don't have to make it complicated. And all of a sudden, there's checks dropping in your mailbox. We like that. Yeah, we do. Bring it on, right? Bring it on. How about some digital marketing? Now, this was one of the things that I was like, no, I'm a web developer. I am not touching your Facebook. I am not touching your Instagram. That's not my jam. Okay, but what if you have somebody in your network that is their jam? Here comes that very natural moment to grow your team. So when I said earlier, don't stress out about that. That's the truth of it. But if you put in place a structure to start selling these reoccurring services, and you know that there's going to be reoccurring revenue coming in every month, that you could, in a sense, wholesale over to another contractor, or if you're an agency, onboard a team member, ultimately these services pay for that person on your team and probably bring you a little bit of extra revenue off the top, right? That you're keeping in your pocket. Here's what I do. I go over and use a tool like SEMrush. I do some keyword research inside of SEMrush. And then I jump into their content strategy writing tool and have them write all that content for me. I pull that out, drop it into their website for a blog article, and ask something like ChatGPT to assess that blog article and write 5 Facebook posts for me. I copy those Facebook posts and drop them into your Meta Business Publisher tool, totally free. Dropping that in there, schedule those posts, and it's automated. MRR is not meant to be a massive lift for you. MRR is meant to be something that you can either automatically do, we love that, or do at such a level that it becomes such a routine for you, or such a replicable method that you do that you're fast at it. Let's say you host 100 websites on your server. How do you manually go into those every month and update those? There are tools these days that allow that all to be automated. Set that up for your own behind the scenes method and then sell the service. So if I haven't convinced you yet, let's look at some numbers and see if I can help you have an aha moment like I did at that WordCamp. Let's say that you're a freelancer and your goal is to hit 6 figures or even jump to 10K a month. For some of us, that could be just one website if we're finding the right client. For some of us, that might be 3 or 5 websites, depending upon the value that we're bringing to the table and the types of websites that we're building. What that equates to, though, is one of the most concerning metrics that we stare at as a freelancer. What that means is we've got to find 36 new clients every year. What? That's the question I get from freelancers in my network. How are you finding clients? How are you hustling? How many clients do you get this month? It's one of the biggest frustrations that we run into when we feel like, uh-oh, I don't have any leads. I don't know where my money's coming from this month. It's very frustrating and saddening. But that's why Bluehost decided, hey, MRR is a true valuable conversation. We've got to get here and talk about this. So what if we did a different model and we still had that same goal of hitting that 120K per year? How do we do that? By applying in some MRR. What would that look like? Well, if you built up your MRR to, let's say, bring in 4K a month automatically. Let's look at this through a freelancer lens for a minute, right? Because these numbers might be low for our agencies. I'll show you, or I'll explain to you an example of an agency. But for those of us who are solo shops, we're freelancers. 4K a month pays for your mortgage, likely. pays for your car payment likely, and might even sprinkle in some groceries in there. That is automatically hitting your bank account every month. Wow. I would love to have that just popping in my bank account. Then once that's set up, now all you have to do is focus on maybe 1 to 2 websites a month at that 6K range. And now all of a sudden you've hit your revenue goals, and you've only had to go find as few as 12 new clients per year, 1 a month. Do you see how impactful it can be? So for my agency, it took me from $8,000 or so a month. And that kind of just happened because we were doing some digital marketing for people. We were writing some blog articles. You know, it was just kind of those one-off things. But when I left this WordCamp, I mean, my brain was firing on all pistons. I was so excited. I was like, all right, I'm taking notes. I'm going back. I'm outlining who our exact client looks like. And one of the last bullet points I put on there as a characteristic of what I want my ideal client to look like was that they had, in fact, at least $99 a month to come onto my reoccurring revenue model. Which means I required anybody we built websites for to come on to my hosting plan, come on to my hosting plan for at least 12 months. Now, initially I thought to myself, I'm going to lose clients left and right if I ever say the word required. They're going to turn me down because they don't want that ongoing fee. But the truth is, ongoing fees are anywhere they're going to be if they've got a custom website built. They're going to have to pay for hosting somewhere. They're going to have to click update inside of WordPress at some point. Their website is going to need maintenance no matter what platform they're on, WordPress or not. They're going to want to change things. They're going to want an expert to be there on the other end of that email that they're sending out, asking for help, or answering the phone when they need emergency help. That's the relationship you're building with them in saying to them, I don't just want to leave you. I want us to go forward together. Let's figure out how this benefits everybody. And so that's the way we sell it, y'all. Instead of saying, oh, and you're going to have to pay me $199 a month. No, switch it around and say, and I'm going to provide extra services for you going forward now. And they're going to sit up and pay attention like, what? Okay, website and ongoing help. What does that look like? Well, for us, it provides financial security. We love that. Yes, all day long. For the customer, it's going to build satisfaction and retention, meaning they're not going to leave and go look for another WordPress shop or another agency or another freelancer. They're going to stay with you because you've got this ongoing relationship. It's not, oh, I haven't heard from that person in 6 months. I don't even remember how to reach out to them. You're proactively connecting with them minimally once a month inside of this MRR model. This all equals such less stress for you in your sales process. You're not having to go out and cold call as much as you may have had to in the past. You're not having to, as an agency, hire another salesperson necessarily, unless you wanted to, and then grow it. I like that because that brings in the business scalability. Because when you have MRR in place, now you've got this steady cash flow that allows some flexibility. I remember building websites back in the day and asking for 50% upfront and 50% at the end. And if you have been in business building websites for any length of time, let's say even a year to 2 years, you have likely had the ghosting client, the one who just runs away because they couldn't figure out their about us information. And you will never see that final payment. And you've put in all this work. That type of cash flow, not speed bump, literal dead end type of cash flow where it just dries up, is debilitating for us in this industry. We have to move to a steady cash flow income model. And that's really where MRR can be our safety net. So how do we implement it? Okay, I've convinced you. Y'all are saying, okay, Kori, okay, enough. Let's go get it done. Okay, so here's how we do it. Step one, we're going to take a look at our current services, because I don't want you to go off the rails. Early on in my agency, or early on in my freelancer life, rather, somebody would be like, oh, I also need business cards. I need a car wrap, and I'm going to need some banners for our exhibition booth. I was like, I just sold you a website. I'm not really a graphic designer, but I'll do it, because I thought, why not? And while that might have helped me build some of my skill set, it wasn't my jam. I didn't want to wake up every day trying to figure out how to apply car wraps to somebody's vehicle. That's not my thing. So assess your current services. Think about what it looks like on one of your existing project-based services, maybe web development or something that you're doing to help app development, whatever it might be. Think about that and think about what might be required for extending that service on a regular monthly basis, right? You can identify those tasks that you do regularly and consider that those can be bundled together and provide those as your MRR services. For example, remember, if we build a website, we can maybe ask them if we can add in hosting and maintaining it for them. Maybe if you happen to help them set up their Facebook and their Google business profile, then you're going to be able to write and publish for them every month and help take that off their plate. Maybe if you notice that they send you a Google Analytics code to drop into their website for them because they want to track that, that's a perfect open door to say, hey, would you like me to sit down with you every month, send you those reports, and analyze that data with you and get together a strategy on how we can improve your website's ranking? Yes, all of that's totally natural and an easy sell. Next, we have to figure out what's our pricing. So this is really where we have to think about, okay, what's my time going to be? What am I actually offering them? What's my cost of offering them that? And kind of work it all together. Now, you should know how to set up your pricing, but I want to show you an example of what it could look like to list it out on your website. This is something where you can put in a $199 column in the middle and say, okay, this is the one I suggest you go on. If you're a small business, I've got $99 a month. If you're enterprise level, this is where you should be. And you want to move them into committing to this even as you're onboarding them for the web development side of things. But you can see here, I'm offering premium hosting. We're going to update your plugins in your core WordPress. We're going to provide daily backups, website recovery, which is, again, those pushing a button and restoring back their website, right? Up to a certain amount of storage. Anyway, you can read this list and get an idea of what you might be able to offer for your MRR model. By the way, a lot of that was fully automated. Tasks that I could set one time inside of a dashboard of my hosting provider, and we're off and running. Those things are just a safety net that I know they're there and I can sell that service. Remember, we've got to use a contract. I've already mentioned that. But it's really important to set clear expectations and a list of deliverables and let the client know that this is going to be happening every month. I will do these tasks for you every month because I expect you to pay me every month. So let me show you how simple that can be, because it really can be just a single page if you wanted it to be, or it can be hugely complex depending upon your own contractual language, which, by the way, I'm not a lawyer. We're not responsible for this legal language, but I just want to show you. That's why it says sample only really big here, right? Just want to show you what it could potentially look like. It's going to have your branding on it. It's going to have the date that you're signing this thing. And then I just want it to be a simple bullet list scope of work. You want to put in here, how long is this contract going to go on? Is it a month to month? Because it easily could be. Is this a 12-month commitment to each other? Is there a fee if we break that contract together? So this particular sample is a retainer fee. This is $2,500 a month, and these are the things we're going to be doing for you. And then I also mentioned in here, if you want any additional work after these 20 hours are exceeded, we'll gladly continue helping you, but at a rate of whatever that might be. So once you've got that in place, now you don't want to be chasing them every month for that payment. I promise you that. If there's one of the biggest benefits of MRR, it's that it's predictable income, right? But you want to make sure we're not chasing them for overdue invoices. So as one of those aha moments way too late in my career, I'm going to share this with you. Set them up on reoccurring payments using a platform like QuickBooks. Ask them or even require them to put in a credit card so that those payments are made on time promptly. So again, your future self will thank you. Set it up that way, and you won't have to be annoying them every month with, where's my money? So if there are some challenges in this model, I want to be candid with you. I want to face those together and talk through what that looks like. Can I even sell it? This was my big issue. I truly thought I couldn't. So I got my start in digital marketing when my band needed a website. Because in 1998, that's where I was headed in life, right? I was going to be a rock star. And so I heard about these things called websites. And it turns out that my dad was actually already figuring out how to build them. Self-taught, he was figuring out HTML. There was no CSS back then. He was figuring out HTML, right? He was opening up Netscape Navigator and figuring out how to get in there and build out a website. And so I went in there and figured out from him how to build my band's website. I share this story with you because my dad was 10 steps ahead of me the entire way. He had already figured out this thing called MRR. He was already selling to his clients $25 a month, $50 a month, little tiny MRR packages that added up for him. So when I came along in the agency thinking I knew better than he knew, I was like, Dad, that's horrible. We can't sell MRR anymore. We certainly can't sell $200 a month packages or $2,500 a month retainers. I just can't do that. It's because I didn't believe in the value of it, period. That's it. If you can change your thinking about the importance of it, if you can move your sales pitch from it being a sales pitch to being a support plan, life changes, not only in the perspective of you being able to sell it, but in the perspective of the client receiving it. So figure out some great language on how you're going to be able to do that. And maybe you don't have to, but maybe even require it. If that client does object, and there might be a few that come along, to me, that was always the telltale sign that we weren't going to be a good fit anyway. Because if they can't figure out the value of my staying with them and being seen as their guide through anything that needs help technically on their website, then likely that client is just not a good fit for us. So the only time I've not required MRR is if they are a household name in my community and I'm like, woo, I want their feather in my hat. I will not require ongoing MRR in the sense of I have to host your website. Most of the time they had their own in-house team with their own servers, right? But I could sell them MRR services for ongoing strategy, for ongoing SEO ranking, right? There's different things that we can think about and identify their needs and move into that relationship. So you might have to adjust the services you're selling based on the client. It's a little tough to manage your time because now you've got these continuous plates spinning. But the truth is, you're not having to chase after new clients. So it pays off. And if we do a lot of this automatically, then you're actually having more time. And I spend mine on the golf course. So there you go. It does take time, though, to grow your list. So that's the thing. My agency went from around that $8,000 a month to coming back. And in the next 3 years, I grew it to $37,000 a month. It moved us from only making around $95,000, $96,000 a year income to getting closer to our nearly $500,000 of MRR growth in a year, over the year, right? Took me 3 years though to do that. And so based on how big your team is or what your sales goals are, this might take time. But I promise you, every $100 package adds up. It adds up. You're going to love it. Okay. So we've put together a little bit of a workbook for you. It's not some huge, laborious project or LMS course you're going to have to sit through. This is straight up a couple of sheets. You're going to come in here and just start to answer some questions. Put together what your plans might look like. See some of these contractual language, these sample, I'm going to throw that out there again, sample only contracts for you to get an idea of maybe how you can bullet point list and set expectations for helping your client with some of these services. I hope this has been beneficial for you. And definitely take time though. If you can implement this, I promise you it's going to make a difference in your growth strategy. All right. I hope I've convinced you, but I know there might be questions. So how can I answer some questions? What do you have? Fire away.
Yeah, if y'all have questions, go ahead and drop them in that chat. We've already got some great ones coming in. And first of all, Kori, you pump me up hearing you talk about it. And like it's exciting. It sounds doable. Even if you're, just starting off as a solo freelancer, or you have a small team or even a bigger team, the idea of just kind of seeing the numbers of what the impact of MRR can add to just financial stability and the ability to do a little bit of long-term planning. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And for sharing your stories. Few questions for you. So you mentioned, you heard the session at a WordCamp and then came back and started to implement some MRR. How did you transition existing clients into that MRR model?
Whew, yeah, good call there, right? Because we definitely had a list that we had already built for in the past, and unfortunately, most of those conversations ended with "Thank you for the final payment, goodbye." It was just out the door. What a missed opportunity! So we kind of pitched it to them as a super cool. We're really excited to circle back to you. By now, by the way, your website is likely needing a lot of updates. We might have even taken time to scan their website with, used to be called Google Page Speed Insights. Now it's Google Lighthouse. We would go use a tool like that, scrub the site that we built for them, and go back with like hat in hand and say to them, hey, we've identified some opportunities to improve your website. We would love to bring you in and put you on better hosting so we can get this speed up for you. We would love to work with you on an ongoing basis, right? So that list of previous clients was our first go-to to pitch and bring back people that we enjoyed working with. And I promise you, we sifted through that list to ensure they were all people we wanted to continue working with prior to bulk blasting an email. Existing clients, though, that maybe we were in current contracts with, again, I just started to move them toward, hey, we don't want to lose you. We don't want you to get out there in the wild and be out on your own. And so it was really this support conversation, not a sales conversation. It was transparency, especially if they were on WordPress. It was transparency of there will be a moment that updates are needed. There are licensing issues for plugins and themes. I hold developer licenses that I might be able to extend to you if you're on my support plan. These types of conversations really open the door very naturally to move them into that MRR relationship.
You bring up a great point of those developer licenses and something a kind of a pass-through that you can offer. That's a lot of value if you're offering, a $99 a month or a $199 or whatever the price point is. But in that is included, the cost of all these plugins that you're already holding licensure for. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, we even would, in our contractual language, when we're building out the site, we would be transparent that we're going to use a pro plugin. And if they did not opt in for our reoccurring services, they would then be required, or if they ever left our reoccurring services, they would be required to go buy their own license, right? That's only ethically correct. I will tell you this, I've had clients go, oh, we don't want your services anymore because we don't really do updates to the website. I'll send them a list of go get this theme license, go get this plugin license, go get your own hosting. And I'll bullet point out what they have to do to leave us. And they're like, yeah, never mind. I'm staying right with you. $99 a month sounds great. Keep it going.
I bet. Here's a great question. How do I balance offering MRR services with continuing to take on project-based work?
Yeah, so that's got to be something where what you're selling as an MRR service, or at least the majority of that plan that you put together for that client, has to be automated or lightweight. If in fact it's a heavier deliverable for you every month, if you're having to write 3 blog articles or build out 3 landing pages every month or whatever that looks like, and it's a big lift for you, it's time consuming, then you got to up your fees. You've got to move them to that $2,500 retainer, that $4,000, that $5,000 retainer every month, which means you don't have to go find new clients every month because that money's already there. So just always price your value and your worth. And some of these packages might not just be this one size fits all. And that's really where those custom retainers fit in well, to really assess what the client needs, craft something very custom for them, and commit to it. I also plan out, I time block. That's how I do everything. So, if I'm doing a retainer for a client and I've got several that I'm lead on right now, I have time blocked on my calendar every month, every week to go accomplish their tasks for them. And then I know what's open in the rest of my calendar to then take on new projects. If I don't have the bandwidth, I don't need to stress because I know that I'm still reaching my financial goals every month.
Thank you. Let's see. Here's one. What are some, or what metrics should I, or how do you track basically the success of your MRR strategy?
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna see the checks coming in, right? Even if it's, sometimes if they're a nonprofit, I'll offer them a reduced rate retainer. That's just, my old school ways. I want to be kind. So maybe it's only $49 a month for them or $69 a month. You'll list that service out in whatever tool you're using to manage your invoicing as MRR. You will be able to see and track it as MRR. It's going to be an itemized line inside of your invoicing now as a service. So you'll want to categorize these monthly fees. Pull that data at the end of the quarter and check it out and realize that all of a sudden, because you've sold 2 or 3 of these packages, now you're getting $800 a month coming in. Every quarter, you're pulling your MRR line and you're seeing your profit and loss statement, right? You're seeing what's coming in. You'll see that MRR listed in there, and that number will continuously grow as long as you implement this strategy and put it in your required process, right? We don't want to be flaky on this. And the more scared you are to sell it, the more nervous the client's going to sense that you can actually come through. So believe in it, because it's not a scam. This is great value that you're providing for your client. The first time they get in and tinker with their website and they kill an entire page accidentally, this just happened to me 2 weeks ago. I got an urgent email in all caps of the page went missing and I didn't do anything. Well, actually they did do something. They clicked the wrong button. The page went missing. I was able to go back and click one button and restore their entire website for them. And I look like the hero. And they are so excited to pay me my retainer fee every month. That's that moment. Believe that you're providing value. You'll be able to sell it. You'll see that incrementally build up in your revenue streams.
Bottom line, the checks are coming in is what I heard.
They come. Yeah.
Oh, we've got time for 1 or 2 more here. Let's see. How can I make my MRR services stand out from competitors? So the classic differentiator question.
Yeah. I think a couple of things there. Creep on your competitors' websites. See if they expose their plans. I love that. Go learn from them of what you can add to your plan. But the biggest differentiator is going to be that you actually show up. You actually come through. One, you're going to have to sell it to them, right? They're going to have to believe that you're ready to do this for them. But two, the moment they start emailing you, the moment they start submitting a support ticket, you got to come through. And if they're not super proactive and knocking on your door every month and asking for changes, and a lot of my clients, I would say a good 70% of my clients, I never hear from until they're sending me the check. I like that, right? I'm still doing my automated upkeep for their websites. I might even still manually go run a test or two. But the majority of my clients, because I've built their websites in such a sustainable manner, because I've invested in such great hosting, I am good to go. But here's the thing. When you're selling your package, they've got to know I can reach out. They're going to be active. They're going to be responsive. They're going to answer their phone. That's the biggest differentiator, and you'll stand out every time.
Fantastic. I think we're coming up on the time there, so okay. I'm actually going to cut it there. But Kori, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge and your expertise. You've actually made me excited to go back and kind of think about my own offerings.
Yeah.
So thank you for everybody that showed up and participated in the chat today and interactive. We love having you here. Let's see, Kori, where can people find you online to say hello and see what you're up to?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely find me over on LinkedIn. It's just my name, Kori Ashton, Kori, Kori Ashton. You can find me over on YouTube. You can find me at maxcro.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. And we'll catch everybody on the next webinar. Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you.